Okay, guys, bear with us a minute. I hit the wrong button and had to restart the stream. So, whoops. So I'll give you guys a minute to kind of catch up to the Switch, and we'll be with you momentarily. And wrong button again. Oh, I hit the wrong button twice. Well, this time I didn't hit the wrong button, so we're still good morning. How we doing, guys? How you doing, Sunshine?
I'm okay. I am okay. Yes, just okay. You asked. I mean, being honest. Well, it's one of those things where
I
somebody's like,
recommend coffee.
well, I'm planning on drinking quite a bit more. But it's one of those things where, like the weird social conventions that
Wait,
go.
I have to drop a band hammer because
Yes.
apparently Depunked wants me to mount my viewers. Good luck with that, guys. I'm sorry, you were saying.
Well, it's just one of those weird social conventions where somebody's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And like, we don't actually want them to honestly answer the question. Like, you ever bump into somebody at the grocery store and like, "Hey, how you doing?" And then they just like, "Well, my ex-husband," and blah 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 blah, and you're like,
No.
wait a minute, stop."
I don't care, sweetheart. I don't care. Unless you want to pay me for some advice.
Yeah, and in all honesty, if you're the kind of woman that's going to randomly complain about your ex-husband in the grocery store because you bump into an old friend,
You may be the common denominator.
you may be the common denominator. Oh.
Jeez. The fact that my dad watches on Twitch makes me laugh my ass off. So speaking of Twitch, okay. I told Cameron we weren't going to get into this article. We're not. We're not going to get into it hard. But I want to bring it up because we're going to talk about the premise a bit. So there was a shooting this weekend. And again, we're not going to talk about the shooting a whole lot today. I want to see more information come out. But let's talk a little bit about why there's not enough information. So here's what we've got. Reason Magazine is supposed to be conservative, right? Supposed to be, whatever. Reason says Twitch removed the Buffalo Shooters live stream within 2 minutes. Maybe it's not a good idea for the government to prohibit all viewpoint-based moderation on social media. Yes, it is a good idea to prohibit all viewpoint-based moderation on social media. Here's what you achieved by making the argument that censorship is good in this case. This guy opened fire, caused harm, and published a manifesto. And immediately there's a clampdown on the information surrounding him. That's the manifesto is a straight copy pasta of a few other manifestos. The thing that is achieved is now your media gets to hide the fact that guys like this copycat and the Christchurch shooter, right? These guys with their manifestos. When you read the manifestos, they're basically carbon copies of each other. They're straight copy pasta. And they're deeply radical socialists. The narrative that they're going to paint is that this guy's a radical white supremacist and therefore a Republican. And it's not going to be the case. The other thing that really strikes me when we start hearing about a story like this, oh, there was a mass shooting this weekend. Apparently there were 3 mass shootings this weekend. No, there were dozens of them. There were 3 where it was a white guy. Maybe. At least one of them, they haven't revealed the information yet, and so we can pretty much bet it wasn't a white guy. But
the one at the church, I think that was apparently like some 60-year-old Asian dude.
Of course it was. Is that the one where the pastor hit him in the head? You were a pastor, come for him.
Hog-tied him? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the one where the dude's supposed to...
So...
It doesn't look like a white guy.
This old Asian guy right here, this is not the Asian shooter. This is the badass pastor that clubbed the shooter in the head with a chair so that the congregation could hog tie him. But the fact is, you've got in Chicago, in Detroit, in these places where gun crime is a big deal, the criminal statistics try to define a mass shooting as anything that involves 3 or more victims. That happened a lot this weekend. But there were 3 where it wasn't a demographic. Where it wasn't black on black violence or Mexican drug gang violence. This is a distraction. This is the censorship engine attempting to pretend that all gun violence is the result of crazy white people. I know we got one Asian in here too, but they can't get into college right now because of racism. So, sure, let's throw them under the bus as the next also whites. But Twitch shut down the live stream. Now, the live stream's one thing, but go try to find the articles. Go try to find the publication of his manifesto. It's difficult to find because what the narrative needs is that there is a manifesto, not what the manifesto contains. Because they've got you convinced that manifesto equals Unabomber. That manifesto equals right-wing violence. And the narrative, the Democrats, they have a big problem right now. Because their voters are saying, I can't afford gas, I can't afford rent, I can't find baby formula. And the Democrat says, but abortion. But I can't buy gas, it's too expensive. Yeah, but abortion is super important. Yeah, but I can't find baby formula. Well, you should have aborted him. You should have aborted the baby. Baby formula wouldn't be a problem. Come on, Democrat, get on board. Get on board with the message. Get on board with the plan. Right? So that's kind of what we're looking at going on right now. I've got this article from NPR from last week. From yesterday. It's 19 weeks into the year, and America has already seen 198 mass shootings. I've read this article, and what they don't mention is where those mass shootings happened. Right? They mentioned the 10 people killed and an additional 3 injured make this weekend's racially motivated attack at a Buffalo, New York supermarket the deadliest mass shooting of the year in the United States. It is also the 198th mass shooting in 2022. With just over 19 weeks into the year, this averages out to about 10 such attacks a week. Except they just pulled a little sleight of hand. They just said that this weekend's racially motivated attack at Buffalo, the deadliest mass shooting of the year, it's also the 198th mass shooting in 2022. With just over 19 weeks, this averages out to about 10 such attacks per week. I'm sorry, 10, what kind of attacks? Oh, racially motivated attacks. You want me to believe that there are 10 racially motivated mass shootings per week. You didn't say that explicitly, but that's what you're trying to imply. The fact of the matter is, of these 10 mass shootings per week, the 3 that you can name off the top of your head. Oh, wait, no, we have to count Waukesha as racially motivated, right?
It wasn't a shooting.
It was a mass killing.
But it wasn't a shooting.
Okay, fair enough. So, joggers love trucks.
Yeah, but it wasn't a shooting. You know, like you're...
That's fair. That's fair. I really don't have much more to say about this right now, apart from don't let them lie to you. Right? I'm not saying that what happened in Buffalo was a good thing. No, some asshole killed a bunch of people. I would go on to point out that it happened in New York, and he was able to kill as many people as he was able to kill because nobody was ready to return fire.
You know,
right? What's the last mass shooting you can think of that happened in Georgia?
Heritage High
We
School?
were there. Exactly. It was a high school.
Yeah.
And it was similar to this.
Yeah.
Because nobody
target.
was armed. Soft target.
Yeah. Maj Toure had an interesting take. Said that the shooter never should have been apprehended by police. That after the first couple of people got dropped by him, there should have been so much return fire from everybody else in the grocery store that there was nothing left but for the coroner to show up and mop up the pieces.
Right.
And you know, black guns matter.
Cute green blanket. You are correct.
Okay, but golly, I promised Cameron I wouldn't talk about the article, and then I referenced the article. You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. Look, what they did is they took down the live stream of him murdering people. You know,
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. That's not terribly unreasonable, and that's not even. Honestly, that's even only related to making the manifesto difficult to interpret. Difficult to find, much less have all these interpretations floating around out there of it to help you understand it. Like, just for example, like I have children on Twitch. I don't want them to be able to find videos of dudes committing murder. I'm okay with not letting 13-year-olds watch snuff films in the making. Like, that seems like good corporate policy for Twitch to me. Like, that's not censorship of Big Brother. If I ran a social media platform, that would be one of the rules. I would say no snuff films would be one of the rules. I'd be okay with that.
Okay. And that translates immediately into maybe it's not a good idea for the government to prohibit viewpoint-based moderation on social media.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have a viewpoint. Like, you can't not have the biggest problem, okay, and I use Rush Limbaugh as an example of this for the rest of my life. Rush Limbaugh had the credibility that he had, not because he was neutral or nonpartisan, but because he was completely transparent about what his viewpoint was. He was absolutely partisan. When he used facts and figures and logic and told you what his opinions were, he was trying to make a point. He was trying to build a certain case. So you could decide if you agreed with him, if you agreed with his conclusions because you understood exactly where he was coming from. One of the things that makes CNN so insidious is they purport to be just the news. All we do is call balls and strikes, and we don't have any skin in the game whatsoever. By the way, January 6th was like the worst attack that ever happened on American soil. And that's a lie, okay? But to say that if I own a social media company and I want to have some type of viewpoint-based moderation, then the question is, how am I going to implement it? What's my goal? And am I going to be honest about it? Like, you'll get that fact checker thing on Facebook every time you mention a certain virus of Chinese origin. And it doesn't matter. You could be saying something that is 100% factual, and yet the fact checkers still come in and fact check you. And that's a little creepy. But maybe take it the other way and look at Elon Musk buying Twitter. Obviously, Elon's going to have a certain viewpoint, and his stated viewpoint is as far inside the law as the speech is allowed to go, which means he's going to have a viewpoint that says as soon as you cross over into things that are illegal, that's going to be things that he's not going to allow onto Twitter. So, in and of itself, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's the environment that we live in where guys like you and I have been burned over and over and over again for even questioning the virus, for even saying, hey, this might be a virus, and then suddenly we're racist, go hug a Chinese person. And then 6 months later, we're like, I don't know, maybe this is not so bad, and we're science deniers. And now here we are a couple of years later, and we're like, hey guys, is this vaccine thing really like the most amazing vaccine of all time, or are there questions about it? And if I say anything more than that, it's going to get us knocked off YouTube. That's why we feel the way that we feel about it. But just jump into, well, okay, this is a live stream of a shooter, so you're making a leap, and I don't necessarily agree with it.
I'm not making a leap. Here's what I said. Pulling down the live stream is one thing. That does not justify the leap to viewpoint-based moderation is good. That you shouldn't allow the broadcaster to broadcast a mass murder is not the same as people aren't allowed to agree with Donald Trump.
No, but again, it's like we've talked about before, how there's no such thing as unbiased news, because at some point in time,
correct.
you have to decide what to report and what to not report. So, in and of itself, every piece of news media you've ever consumed has a bias because somebody decided it was worth reporting.
Right. Still besides the point, because the point here is not whether or not the reporting is biased or whether or not there's bias in choosing what to report. It's whether or not being biased and then choosing to stop someone from reporting.
Yeah, but look, I mean, I think it's a little disingenuous to not go into the article and understand the case that they're making, because what they point out as you get into the article is that you could read Texas's law about social media to say that taking down the live stream was illegal for Twitch to do. Okay,
you could read it that way. That's a leap, because Texas's law prevents viewpoint-based discrimination.
Well, this guy pretty clearly had a viewpoint that was he was basically a modern-day Nazi.
That a person has a viewpoint is not the same as whether or not he's committing crime on the stream. See, the article here. White teenager opened fireball. The alleged killer, 18-year-old Peyton Gendron, was taken into custody. Live streamed the beginning of his attack on Twitch. Social media company confirmed. We are devastated to hear about the shooting that took place this afternoon. Our hearts go out to the community impacted by this tragedy. Twitch has a zero-tolerance policy against violence of any kind and works swiftly to respond to all incidents. See, I'm glad you asked about the law, because we're getting to that. I started with my point here. It's one thing to say you remove the violence, you remove the criminal activity. It is quite a different thing to say that that means that viewpoint-based discrimination and moderation is good. Most people, it says, will recognize this as the right move for Twitch, but it's worth pointing out that such a decision might very well have been illegal under a controversial Texas social media law that was revived by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals last week. That law, HB 20, permits users to sue social media sites for practicing viewpoint-based discrimination or viewpoint-based censorship. And here's the point I'm getting to. Reason is arguing that removing video of a person engaged in a crime is the same as removing content of somebody based on whether or not the platform agrees with their position. They're making the argument that saying it's not okay to censor is the same as saying it's not okay to have rules against crime.
No, they're not.
They absolutely, it's right fucking there.
No, they're not. They're pointing out that this kid's rampage was politically motivated. This was an act of political terrorism. I think that's one of the few things that the news media has gotten correct about this story, is that this is an act of political terrorism.
So that it's okay to remove the commission of the crime is the same as saying it's okay to censor people for agreeing with Donald Trump. Moreover,
no, that's what you're
Moreover,
saying.
no, I'm not. It's dude, it's on the fucking screen. Everybody can read it. Moreover, you're saying that this law, which says no viewpoint-based censorship, is the same as saying that, for example, we should be able to live stream child grooming.
No, that's
exactly what you're saying.
No, I can't reinterpret what you say, but you can reinterpret what
I'm not
I say.
reinterpreting what you're saying. That's what you're fucking saying.
No, it's not, but okay.
This article is arguing that.
This article is arguing that maybe the government shouldn't be so heavy-handed in telling social media companies they're not allowed to censor based on viewpoint. That's what this article is arguing. It's not saying anything about crime or child molestation or anything of the sort.
No, that's
the
not what it's
article
arguing.
says it right there, as you pointed out. It's right there on the screen. Scroll back up to the top. That maybe the government should, maybe it's not a good idea for the government to prohibit all viewpoint-based moderation on social media. All is a pretty encompassing fucking term.
And this, if you'll listen to me, they are not. This is not a case where he is being censored for his viewpoint.
No,
that's my point. The article is making the argument that removing the crime is the same as censoring the viewpoint, and that is false.
You know how sometimes we'll take an event or an idea and we will deliberately expand it beyond its original parameters in order to have a discussion that might be controversial?
Yes. Are you saying that that's what you're trying to do?
No. I'm saying that that's what Reason attempted to do.
Reason did not attempt to do that. Reason attempted to lie. Reason is telling a deliberate lie right here. Like Alex points out right there, I don't believe that Texas law, like the Georgia law, applies to content that is in violation of the law. That's the point. This is making the argument that the Texas law, if it were in effect, would have protected this content from being removed.
It said might. And granted, that's a hell of a weasel word. The decision might very well have been illegal under. And then if you go down further, it's another paragraph or two down where it points out because this happened in Georgia, not Texas, it also might not apply. Okay? Like, there's weasel words in here.
No, this happened in New York.
I mean, that's what I meant. Yes. Yeah, this happened in New York. Well, because it happened in New York and not Texas.
Yeah, but how does that change the fact of what the law they're arguing about is?
Okay. All right. I'm done. I read the comments. They don't like us fighting. Oh my God. right, guys. Look, one time we were drunk in Athens, and Chris threw me through a sculpture. Yelling at me's nothing.
It was a long time ago.
It was 20 years ago.
Yeah, at least.
But it was a broke-ass sculpture by the time he was done.
Yes, it was.
And I was drunk enough to actually pop right back up and say, "What's your problem?"
Krista,
Oh, my God.
a woman, says a woman must have written this article with all these maybes. You know what,
think that's
Krista? There you go. You get top comment today. Boom, Bubbles, do it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up before we force anybody else to change their pants like habeas, and we're going to move right along. Y'all, you have anything else to wrap on?
No, just give us another day or two. We will talk in depth about the
Yes.
shooter. We just want more information to develop because obviously it's really easy to jump to conclusions in these types of situations.
All right. Y'all be safe out there. We'll see you tomorrow.